There's a strange, quiet moment in your day when you realize you're doing absolutely nothing. Your phone is down, the TV is off, no one is talking, and in that stillness, a strange, creeping feeling rises: boredom. And maybe you've never spoken it out loud, but deep down you treat it like an emergency. A quiet alarm goes off in your head telling you, you must fix this, you must fill this space, you must distract yourself immediately. This isn't about simple restlessness. It's about something deeper, something you feel when every distraction fades, leaving only the question you've avoided for years. Why do I feel so empty when I stop moving? Why do I struggle with stillness that seems so simple for others? Why do I keep fighting an invisible pressure to be doing something? And the answer, at least the beginning of it, is that you were taught that boredom is a flaw. This is MindTrip. And today, we're exploring the psychology of boredom and why your inability to tolerate it is killing your potential. We are trained to treat boredom as a personal failure, a lazy state, a sign that we are uninteresting or that the world around us is dull. We are taught to measure our worth by our productivity, our schedule, and our visible busyness. If your schedule is full, you are important. If your mind is racing, you are engaged. But the moment you stop, the moment you become truly bored, you hear the voice of the modern world telling you that you are wasting time, wasting potential, wasting life. Think about how a child learns to fear stillness. Children watch how their parents respond to silence. They learn that stillness is immediately filled with a screen, a chore, a notification, or a distraction. We teach the mind that open space is something to be avoided, not entered. If your environment raised you with constant stimulation, you learn that silence is dangerous. If it raised you with impossible demands, you learn that being unproductive is a threat to your stability. If you never learn to sit with stillness, you learn to associate boredom not with rest, but with meaninglessness. And that is where the anxiety comes from. And survival mode changes the brain. That's not poetry. That's neuroscience. Studies have shown that chronic distraction and the avoidance of deep thought affect the brain's default mode network, the part of your mind that activates when you stop focusing on the outside world. You might feel stuck today, not because you're limited, but because your nervous system was trained from childhood to seek external stimuli instead of internal possibility. Think about how much of your day is shaped by trying to solve the puzzle of not being bored. How you learn to hide your true thoughts because the moment they surface in silence, they feel too heavy to bear. That's not weakness, that's adaptation. That's your mind protecting itself from the heavy, unprocessed thoughts that surface when the noise finally stops. But here's where life becomes complicated. What protected you in the past becomes the very thing that limits you in adulthood. You learned distraction as a child, and now you call it productivity. You learned to avoid internal space, and now you call it efficiency. You learned to fear boredom, and now you call it ambition. What if you aren't choosing these things? What if these things were chosen for you? Because here's the truth you've probably never said out loud. Your relationship with boredom is the blueprint for how you relate to your inner self. Boredom isn't the absence of activity. It is the presence of an unanswered question. If you run from boredom, you are running from the question, what do I actually want? If you fill every gap with noise, you are silencing the thought, am I living the life I truly desire? If you treat every moment of stillness as a failure, you are suppressing the understanding that you are not a machine built for perpetual output. But let me tell you something important. You don't have to continue the story you were handed. People underestimate how deeply the cultural energy of productivity imprints itself on a person. Not through lectures, but through presence, through the constant glow of screens, through the endless notifications, through what we do when the slightest pause occurs. We are taught that the only cure for boredom is external input. But what if boredom is an invitation for internal input? You may have grown up believing that constant movement is strength, that perpetual busyness is responsibility, that exhaustion is normal, that your worth must be proven by doing, not by simply being. But look at how much of that has collapsed under you. Look at how tired you are. Look at how disconnected you feel from your true desires. Look at how hard you fight the internal pressure to perform. Look at how you replay conversations because you're afraid of what might happen if you let your mind be still. This isn't weakness. This is emotional and psychological conditioning. And people rarely talk about it because no one wants to admit that the engine of their ambition is actually the fear of being alone with their own thoughts. But healing begins with honesty. And honesty begins here. You didn't become this way alone. You learned your habits, your defenses, your reactions, your need for constant input. They were taught subtly, quietly, consistently by a world that profits from your attention. And when people tell you just relax, they don't realize you were raised in an environment where true relaxation felt like a foreign language, where being still, quiet, or unoccupied could create anxiety or judgment. But here's the part no one told you, or you probably haven't found out yet. You can outgrow the emotional blueprint you were given. Just because you inherited a fear of emptiness doesn't mean you're doomed to repeat it. Just because you were shaped by constant inputs doesn't mean you can't choose stillness. And the truth is, the moment you even become aware of this pattern, the moment something inside you says, wait, maybe boredom isn't the problem, that is the beginning of strength. The very fact that you're questioning your need for distraction means you've already taken the first step toward reclaiming your mind. And that's not weakness, that's evolution. But before you can rebuild yourself, you have to face something difficult, something most people avoid their entire lives. You have to see boredom not just as a void, but as a signal. You have to see it not as a fault, but as a function. A function that tells you the system is waiting for internal instruction. The distraction is no longer working. Pay attention to what is missing. Understanding this doesn't excuse anything, but it explains everything. And when you understand the origin of your compulsion to move, you stop feeling defective and start feeling aware. Awareness is the first form of freedom. Awareness is how you begin reshaping your mind's relationship with stillness. Awareness is how you stop inheriting the demands of a world that wants your attention. And once you begin that process, something shifts. A quiet strength begins to form, not the strength of constant output, but a new kind of strength. A strength rooted in self-possession. A strength built on the courage to sit in a room with yourself and trust that you won't explode. A strength that grows not from finding the perfect distraction, but from realizing you don't need one. But here's where the story quietly shifts. Because once you begin to see boredom as a messenger rather than a threat, something inside you softens. Not in a way that makes you weak, but in a way that makes you finally honest with yourself. You start realizing that the version of your mind that constantly seeks input wasn't the full version. It was the version shaped by a constant need to avoid the heavy questions that lay beneath the surface. Maybe you never learned how to process difficult emotions. Maybe you never saw stillness modeled. Maybe you confused constant noise with genuine connection. And these pieces of conditioning became pieces of you. But here's the turning point. Once you understand the origin of your compulsion, you gain the power to challenge it. You start noticing moments where you reach for your phone out of habit, not truth. You start catching yourself repeating reflexes that don't belong to you anymore. You begin recognizing that your inner critic demanding constant movement isn't your voice. It's an echo from a culture that never learned how to value quiet. And that realization is the beginning of maturity. Because growing up isn't just about paying bills or becoming independent. Growing up is the slow, sometimes painful process of separating your true self from the world's endless demands. It's learning to look at the emotional rules you inherited and asking, does this still serve me? It's discovering that fulfillment doesn't come from repeating old patterns. It comes from breaking them. And maybe that's where you've been stuck for years. Not because you lack ability, but because you've never questioned the invisible rules your environment wrote inside you. Rules like, keep moving, don't waste a second, handle everything yourself, stay busy, stay productive, don't disappoint, don't express too much, don't show weakness. But look at what those rules cost you. They taught you how to perform, but not how to feel. They taught you how to fill time, but not how to spend it. They taught you how to avoid breaking down, but not how to build up. You survived your cultural patterns, but surviving isn't the same as truly living. And This is the part that requires courage. Questioning the rules you inherited will feel like betrayal. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your mind associates constant activity with safety. It protected you once, it kept the anxiety at bay, it kept you from discomfort, but you're not that conditioned person anymore, and the threats you prepared for don't exist anymore. Yet a part of you still lives as if they do. That's why you struggle to meditate. That's why you feel nervous when you have an hour of unplanned time. That's why you feel responsible for filling the silence in every conversation. That's why you overthink even small decisions. That's why you close off when you most need space, why you shrink when the moment calls you to simply be. These are not random habits. They are inherited self-protection mechanisms against the void of self-inquiry. But there comes a moment, quiet, often unexpected, when you realize the life you're living isn't the life you truly want. It's the life you learn to maintain. And maintaining something that never belonged to you is the most exhausting thing in the world. So let me ask you something gently but directly. When was the last time you asked yourself who you would be if you weren't constantly trying to fill every moment? Who would you be if you stopped living in the emotional shadow of needing to be doing? Maybe this is the moment you realize that your weakness isn't lack of drive, it's lack of permission. Permission you've been waiting your whole life to receive without realizing you can grant it to yourself. Because here's the truth no one told you. You can outgrow the environment that shaped you. You can evolve beyond the need for constant distraction. You can become someone who trusts the silence. You can heal the compulsion you never acknowledged. You can break cycles you didn't know how to escape. You can build an inner world you never experienced. And none of that is betrayal. It's continuation. It's expansion. It's choosing growth where the world chose survival. You're not rejecting the world by becoming more present. You're honoring the part of yourself that wanted presence all along, but didn't know how to reach it. But this transformation won't come from sudden breakthroughs. It won't come from dramatic decisions. Real change is slower, quieter. It comes from small shifts repeated consistently. It comes from choosing a new response in situations where your old patterns would normally take over. It happens the moment you pause before picking up the phone, the moment you sit in silence for 2 minutes longer than feels comfortable, the moment you allow a bored thought to surface without immediately chasing it away, the moment you stand your ground against the urge to be busy, the moment you let yourself rest without shame, the moment you stop over-explaining why you are quiet, the moment you allow internal discomfort without running from it, the moment you choose honesty over avoidance, the moment you forgive yourself for the habits you learned, not the habits you chose. These moments accumulate slowly, steadily, quietly, and over time, they build a new internal voice, one that replaces the echo of cultural demands with a voice that sounds more like you, not the frantic you, not the obedient you, not the protected you, but the real you. The one who has been waiting for years beneath the surface, the you who wants to take risks without needing validation, the you who wants to speak without rehearsing, the you who wants to feel without apologizing, the you who wants to build something meaningful, not just acceptable, the you who wants to stop pretending everything is fine, the you who wants to break free from external expectations, the you who wants to live with purpose, not compliance. And maybe that version of you feels distant, maybe it feels unreachable, maybe you don't know where to begin. But every transformation begins with one simple realization. You are not responsible for filling every second of your existence. You are only responsible for what you choose to carry forward. Your world shaped you, but so did the cultural vacuum. So did the pressure, so did the noise, so did the unhealed parts of society. But now you have something it didn't: awareness. Awareness is the first doorway to change, and once you walk through it, something remarkable happens. You realize you're not becoming weaker by confronting your need for distraction, you're becoming stronger by understanding it. Because real strength isn't the absence of downtime. Real strength is acknowledging your patterns without judging yourself for them. Real strength is seeing boredom clearly as a signal for inquiry without letting it define your future. Real strength is choosing growth even when it feels unfamiliar. Because that unfamiliar feeling, that's how you know you're becoming someone new. And maybe one day when you look back, you'll realize something powerful. The very thing you once called a weakness, your inability to tolerate boredom, was actually the starting point of your transformation. It was the signal that something inside you needed more space, more understanding, more silence. And freedom is what this entire journey has been leading you toward. Freedom from the echo of a culture that didn't know how to guide you in the ways you needed. You are allowed to build your own definition of engagement, one rooted in awareness, compassion, courage, honesty, and self-respect. And the most powerful part? You don't have to wait for permission. You can begin right here, right now, with nothing more than a quiet decision. Your story continues with you, not with the patterns you inherited, not with the noise you carried, not with the limits you were taught, but with the strength you are discovering within yourself. And as you move forward, you might begin to see something unexpected, something almost gentle. You were never weak because of silence. You only believed you were. What you called boredom was the first step toward becoming stronger than the impulse to distract. And that strength, your strength, is only beginning to unfold. Thanks for taking this mind trip with me. Until next time, take care of your mind.